Hello everyone, good evening to all. Just confirm me once that presentation is visible and my voice is audible to you so that we can start the session. My voice is audible and the presentation is visible to all of you. Just confirm me in the chat box. So let's start our discussion. Sir, in our yesterday session, हम लोगों ने जो डिस्कस किया था, we had discussed about the constitutional background of GST about Article 246A. हम लोगों ने डिस्कस कर लिया था Article 246A. Then after we had started our discussion on Section 7 of CGST Act, that is definition of supply, the activity or transaction, the point of taxation. What is the point when we need to charge GST? That is what is the our point of taxation, that is supply. And under the definition of supply we had read the language of the definition that supply includes as per section 7. Supply includes sale, exchange, barter, transfer, lease, rental in the course or furtherance of business for a consideration. Then after हम लोगों ने उसके अंदर एक्सेप्शन देखा था, if I am going to make any import of services, whether it is in the course or furtherance of my business or not in the course or furtherance of my business for a consideration, in that case that transaction or activity will be treated as supply. Then after we had discussed about that in schedule 1, those activities which is covered under schedule 1 of CGST Act, वो सारी की सारी एक्टिविटीज, वो सारे के सारे ट्रांजेक्शन्स जो कि शेड्यूल 1 में कवर होते हैं, उन सारे ट्रांजेक्शन्स पे चाहे कंसिडरेशन नहीं दिया, वेदर देयर इज अ कंसिडरेशन और नो कंसिडरेशन, बट those activity or transactions, if they are in the course or furtherance of business, in that case valuation should be decided as per the valuation rules. Okay, schedule 2 of CGST Act will decide that particular supply of a particular thing is a supply of goods or supply of services. और वहां पर हम लोगों ने एक स्पेसिफिक थिंग डिस्कस की थी, whenever whenever there will be a transfer of title, in that case we can say that there is a transfer of goods, there is a supply of goods. And whenever there is a transfer of right to use any particular goods, plant and machinery, land and building, whatever will be, that will be treated as supply of services. Okay sir. Then after Schedule 3 of CGST Act, all those transactions or activities which is mentioned in that schedule, those are neither supply of goods nor supply of services. That is employer employee relationship की वजह से अगर यहाँ पर कोई गिफ्ट आया है, if there is any gift due to employee relationship. सेकेंड पॉइंट हम लोगों ने ये देखा था, कोई भी बंदा जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कोई पोस्ट हेल्ड कर रहा है, एनीवन हु इज हेल्डिंग द पोस्ट अंडर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन, पंचायत समिति, all those things are, if they are going to provide any services, in that case that will be treated as neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Then after नेक्स्ट पॉइंट हमने देखा था फ्यूनरल और उससे रिलेटेड जो भी एक्टिविटीज और सर्विसेज है, दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज नीदर सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स नॉर सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज. देन आफ्टर हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विसेज इन द कोर्स ऑफ फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस, अगर आउटसाइड इंडिया से आई है, इन दैट केस दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज सप्लाई एंड जीएसटी शुड बी पेबल अकॉर्डिंगली. Then after we had started our discussion on mixed supply and composite supply, section 8 of CGST Act. Composite supply में one supply will be your principal supply and another supply will be your ancillary supply. Okay, they both are naturally bundled and price may be separated. But in case of mixed supply, not naturally bundled और price single होती है. सर मेरे जीएसटी के कोर्स के साथ में 201 important judgments का कोर्स फ्री, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज मिक्स्ड सप्लाई। ओके, सो कल के सेशन में स्पेसिफिकली हमने ये सारी की सारी बातें डिस्कस की थी। वी हैड डिस्कस्ड ऑल दोस थिंग्स इन आवर यस्टरडे सेशन। So, sir, if you have any doubt regarding our yesterday session, in that case, you are free to raise your questions in the chat box. Okay. Now, we are going to start our discussion on section 9 of CGST Act, that is charging section for GST. Whatever will be the act, कोई भी एक्ट हो यहाँ पर उसकी चार्जिंग सेक्शन जरूर होती है। इनकम टैक्स डायरेक्ट इनकम पे चार्ज होता है, वेल्थ टैक्स वेल्थ क्रिएशन पे चार्ज होता है, कस्टम ड्यूटी इंपोर्ट और एक्सपोर्ट पे चार्ज होती है। सेम GST is to be charged according to the charging section. We can say the section 9 of CGST Act, that is charging section, will be the initial section, indicator, initial base of GST. Okay, so now charging section will decide levy and collection. Okay, after each and every topic मैं आपसे क्वेश्चन रेज करूंगा, everything is okay for you. At that time, if you have any question, you are free to raise your query in the chat box. Okay, just make this session as much as interactive so that it will be more convenient for me and also for you, so that we can make this session as useful for all of us. Okay, now levy and collection, as per section 9 subsection 1 says, subject to the provision of subsection 2, there shall be levied a tax called the central goods and services tax on all intra-state supply. That means CAGST will be chargeable on all type of intra-state supply, and IGST will be chargeable on all type of intra-state supply. Goods or services both except on the supply of alcoholic liquor. That means there is no GST on alcoholic liquor. Sir, we are going to read the language of law so that it will be more convenient for us, and also it will help us to enhance our analytical skills. So, there is no GST on alcoholic liquor for human consumption on the value determined under section 15, sir. Valuation, most probably we are going to start the valuation in our today's session, or we may start it in our tomorrow's session. Okay, such rate not exceeding 20%. So the highest rate of GST under one act in GST regime is 20%, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of council, collected in such manner as may be prescribed. That means as per section 9 subsection 1 of CGST Act, GST will be chargeable on all type of intra-state supply except alcoholic liquor, and the highest rate will be 20%. That is what is the conclusion of section 9 subsection 1. Now, section 9 subsection 2. The central tax on the supply of petroleum crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, turbinal fuel shall be levied with effect from such date as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of GST Council. This term we had already discussed at the time of our discussion of the constitutional background of GST. In 5 petroleum product pay, GST will be charged according to the recommendation of GST Council to the government. Okay, so nothing important. Then section 9 subsection 3, a very important section, we are going to discuss in very deep for that particular section only. Section 9 subsection 3 says, sir, if I am talking from GST, two type of tax charging mechanism are there. One is our forward charge, another is our reverse charge. Okay, two type of mechanism are there. One is forward charge and another is reverse charge. Sir, in case of forward charge, if I am a supplier and I am going to make any particular supply, suppose I am selling my services, in that case, if I am as a supplier and I am going to make the supply and I am paying the tax, that means if supplier is going to make the payment of tax, in that case we are saying that in this particular case tax is paying as a forward charge, because supplier is going to make the payment of tax. So whenever there is a payment of tax by the supplier, in that case we can say that the tax is payable under forward charge. But there are certain situations, in that case supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes, whether in that case recipient is going to make the payment. That means recipient is going to make the payment of tax instead of supplier. In that case, whenever there is a tax payment by the recipient, in that case we can say that this is the tax payment under reverse charge mechanism. That means whenever recipient is going to make the payment of tax, in that case we are going to say that in that case the tax mechanism is reverse charge. Is that okay? Tax mechanism of forward charge and reverse charge. Now question arises that now question arises as per section 9 subsection 3, there are certain goods or services specified on which tax is to be paid by the recipient. Okay, that means all those transactions, all those goods, all those services which is specific in section 9 subsection 3 on which tax is to be paid by the recipient. So there is a detailed list is there. Okay, and we are going to discuss on that list also in our today's session. Okay, so we can say all those transactions, all those activities, all those goods, all those services which is mentioned in section 9 subsection 3, in all those activities on all those goods and services, GST should be payable by the recipient. Supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes. Now, section 9 subsection 4 talks about certain type of registered person who need to pay the taxes on reverse charge basis. Okay, suppose if I am going to make any supply to an unregistered person, if I am going to make any goods, if I am going to receive any goods or services from an unregistered person and the amount is more than 5,000 rupees, in that case I need to, as a recipient, I need to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. That is what is the term of section 9 subsection 4, but this section is not applicable currently. So we are not going to discuss on this section. We are going to discuss on these three sections. Section 9 subsection 1 says that on all type of intra-state supply, GST will be charged. The maximum rate will be 20% and no GST will be charged on the alcoholic liquor for human consumption. On 5 petroleum product, as per 9 subsection 2, on these 5 petroleum product, GST will be charged on a future date. As per section 9 subsection 3, there is a list available for goods and services on which GST is to be paid by the recipient, that is under reverse charge mechanism. Section 9 Section 9 subsection 5 talks about the e-commerce operator. The government may, on the recommendation of council, by notification specify category of services of tax on intrastate supply on which shall be paid by the electronic commerce operator if such services are supplied through it. That means there are certain goods or services specifically notified by the government that if someone is going to make the supply of these goods or services on any specific e-commerce operator platform, in that case that e-commerce operator platform is going to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. That is, e-commerce operator is liable to make the payment of taxes. Suppose if that e-commerce operator is not available in that particular state, in that case e-commerce operator has to appoint a representative and that representative will pay the taxes. Okay, sir. So section 9 subsection 1 talks about the intra-state supply. Section 9 subsection 2, 5 petroleum products. Section 9 subsection 3, specified goods or services on which recipient is going to make the payment of tax. Section 9 subsection 4 is not applicable. Section 9 subsection 5 is related to e-commerce operator. Now, classification of goods on the basis of HSN code. Classification of services will be on the basis of SSC code. We all know very well that when filing the GSTR1 return and as a departmental authority, when you are going to check the various returns of clients, in that case, you also need to check that HSN code wise summary is proper and matching with the supply or not, or SSC code wise supply is proper or not. Okay, we are going to check these things. If the turnover of that particular entity cross the specified limit, that is 5 crore rupees, in that case 6-digit HSN code or SSC code is mandatory. So burden of proof regarding HSN based classification of goods and services is on department. That means, sir, this is a very important, very specific term. जब भी कोई litigation होगा, whenever there will be a litigation, इन दैट केस सपोज मैंने कोई पर्टिकुलर सप्लाई का एचएसएन कोड यहाँ पर 9966 पुट किया. आई हैव पुट द एचएसएन कोड ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर सप्लाई एज अ 9966. Departmental authority is going to say that this 9966 is not correct. Here 9955 should be there. In that case, जब भी वो बोलेगा कि 9955 होना चाहिए, in that case burden to prove will be on departmental authority. That means in that case departmental authority has to prove that 9955 should be there and 9966 is wrong in that specific case. So as a departmental authority, जब भी हम लोग इससे related क्वेश्चन निकालते हैं, in that case we first ensure ourselves that this is a perfect HSN code or not. Or whenever as a taxpayer, as a professional, we are going to fight an litigation. In that case हमको ये departmental authority को बोलना है कि सर आप प्रूव करो कि HSN कोड गलत है, because burden to prove of that HSN code is on department. Okay, now certain important points are there related to litigation. Okay, circulars are just explanation regarding the law. किसी भी स्पेसिफिक थिंग के लिए अगर कोई सर्कुलर आया हुआ है और अगर नोटिफिकेशन कुछ और बात बोलता है, इन दैट केस वी कैन से दैट सर्कुलर इज जस्ट फॉर द क्लेरिफिकेशन, सर्कुलर इज जस्ट फॉर द एक्सप्लेनेशन पर्पसेस. अगर नोटिफिकेशन कुछ एडवर्स ओपिनियन दे रहा है, इन दैट केस अगर नोटिफिकेशन हमारे फेवर में डिसीजन दे रहा है, वी कैन गो विद दैट नोटिफिकेशन. Okay, so this is the basic thing which is very much useful at the time of litigation, and when you are doing any type of litigation, in that case, these type of contentions are really very relevant and very helpful for us. Now, what is the difference between exempted supply and zero rated supply? Exempted supply attract a nil rate of tax, completely exempted. जबकि zero rated supply is zero rate of tax, that is without payment of tax. Whenever we are going to make any export, in that case we are saying that this particular supply is zero rated supply. What is the reason behind this rate देने के पीछे क्या कारण है? अगर यहाँ पर जीरो रेट नहीं होती, वो बोलते थे नील रेट, इन दैट केस वी आर नॉट एलिजिबल टू क्लेम द रिफंड ऑन द इनवर्ड सप्लाई. And in case of zero rated supply, there is a rate which is 0%. So someone is eligible for taking the refund. So in case of exempted supply, you are not eligible to claim the input tax credit, also the refund. But in case of zero rated supply, you are eligible to claim the input tax credit. That is what is the basic difference between exempted supply and zero rated supply. हम लोग मैक्सिमम टाइम पे कंफ्यूज रहते हैं, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दैट जीरो रेटेड सप्लाई एंड एक्सेप्टेड सप्लाई. सो दिस इज द बेसिक डिफरेंस. यहां तक सेक्शन 9 सबसेक्शन 1 2 3 4 5 क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज and certain important parameter is okay for you. Just confirm me in the chat box. Sir, provide your reply in the chat box that section 9 is okay for you. Now, we had discussed about that section 9 subsection 3 that there is certain goods and services which is specifically mentioned in that particular chart, and all those goods and services which is covered under section 9 subsection 3, in that case recipient is going to make the payment of taxes. So now we are going to discuss deeply on that particular section 9 subsection 3 and section 9 subsection 4. Before starting our discussion on section 9 subsection 3 and section 9 subsection 4, we are going to discuss the general provisions regarding reverse charge mechanism. Whenever you are going to make the supply under reverse charge mechanism, suppose if I am going to take the services of transporter, okay, in that case जब भी मैं उस ट्रांसपोर्टर की सर्विसेज लेता हूं, गुड्स ट्रेवल एजेंट की सर्विसेज लेता हूं, इन दैट केस आई नीड टू पे द टैक्सेस अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज. सो जब भी मैं रिवर्स चार्ज में कोई भी टैक्स का पेमेंट करता हूं, दैट विल नॉट इंक्लूडेड इन माय एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर. सपोज माय सेल इज 10 crore rupees and I am going to make the payment of reverse charge on 1 crore rupees. In that case, that 1 crore rupee will not be included in calculation of my aggregate turnover. So first point is this. Second point, RCM tax does not included in output tax. Whenever we are going to file the GSTR 3B return, in that case there is two separate columns available. One is for taxes and another is for inward supply liable to reverse charge mechanism. That means your reverse charge payment will not be included in your output tax. Sir, these are very basic things, but we need to take care of these things because at the time of litigation, at the time of disputes, we need to discuss these things and we are going to make our argument on the basis of these things only. Now, separate provision apply in case of time of supply. In our today's session, we are going to discuss section 12, 13 and 14, that is time of supply. And at that time of our discussion, we go through that there is a separate provisions for time of supply in case of reverse charge mechanism and there is separate provision for time of supply in case of forward charge. Okay. Section 12, section 13 and section 14. Now, if anyone liable for RCM, then in that case turnover limit is not applicable for taking registration. Suppose my turnover is just 8 lakh rupees, but I am taking the services. Okay, I am taking the services which is under the reverse charge mechanism. That is, in that case I need to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. In that case मेरा turnover चाहे कुछ भी हो, I need to take the registration. As a departmental authority, just a small clue for you, whenever you are going for the assessment of any unregistered person, तो केवल आप लोग क्या करते हैं, टर्नओवर को हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई करने की कोशिश करते हैं. कई बार वी मे चेक दैट कहीं आरसीएम पे तो उसकी लाइबिलिटी नहीं आ रही है, टर्नओवर चाहे उसका 7 लाख रुपए है एनुअल, बट ही इज लाइबल टू मेक द पेमेंट अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म. इन दैट केस whatever will be the turnover of that particular person, but that particular person has to take the registration. So this is also an important point and we need to take care of it. Now, mechanism of payment of tax, this is a very general point, we all know very well. Okay, in case of reverse charge mechanism, payment should be made in cash and we are going to claim input tax credit for that. Once we need to make the payment in cash through our electronic cash ledger, and then after we can claim the input tax credit for that. Now, the biggest dispute is that in case of reverse charge mechanism, I need to pay IGST or I need to pay CGST or SGST. So we are just going to discuss one example, and from that example I just want to clear the things. In case of reverse charge mechanism, रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म के अंदर मुझे सेल्फ इनवॉइसिंग करनी है. आई नीड टू मेक सेल्फ इनवॉइसिंग. Or whenever I am going for the self invoicing, that is, I am going to make the invoices, I am going to make the payment of taxes, and I am going to claim the input tax credit. Okay, that means in that case I am going to declare that I am making the invoices from my principal place of business. So in my opinion, CGST or SGST should be charged in case of reverse charge mechanism. Another opinion is that जो भी जीएसटी नंबर बिल्टी पे लगा हुआ है, सपोज आई एम फ्रॉम राजस्थान एंड आई एम टेकिंग द सर्विसेज ऑफ गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट एजेंसी फ्रॉम गुजरात. In that case, they are going to charge, they are going to provide me the GST of Gujarat. Okay, in that case, I can charge IGST because I receive the ability of IGST. और मैं ये बोलूंगा कि मैंने वो सर्विसेज कहां से ली है, गुजरात से ली है, hence IGST should be charged. Okay, मैक्सिमम केसेस में ये वाला प्रिंसिपल फॉलो हो रहा है कि आईजीएसटी चार्ज हो रहा है इन केस ऑफ इंटर स्टेट सप्लाई. इन केस ऑफ इंट्रा स्टेट सप्लाई सीजीएसटी और एसजीएसटी चार्ज हो रहा है. बट इन माय ओपिनियन, under reverse charge mechanism, we are going to make the self invoicing. Okay, in that case I am going to make the invoices from my principal place of business. So CGST and SGST should be charged, not the IGST should be charged in that case. So in my opinion, CGST or SGST should be charged at the time of litigation. This is a good point that we can argue on that. Okay, where recipient is liable to pay the taxes on all supplies, then in that case supplier is not liable to take the registration. Person who are not liable to take the registration, in that case recipient are also not liable to take the registration under recipient, under reverse charge. Suppose I am a supplier of agricultural produce, in that case I am not liable to make the payment of taxes because agricultural produce are exempted under GST. In that case अगर कोई एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस के ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का काम कर रहा है, इन दैट केस प्रिंसिपल इज exempted, so the ancillary part should be exempted, no GST should be charged on that particular supply. So this is a specific point we need to be taken care. तो अभी तक हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म होता क्या है, सर्टेन जनरल पॉइंट्स रिगार्डिंग रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म और हाउ वी कैन टैक्स द रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म, दैट इज CGST or SGST. Now we are going to start our discussion on the list which is mentioned, which is specific in section 9 subsection 3. Okay, supply of goods where GST payable under reverse charge mechanism. So here one list is provided for supply of goods and one list is provided for supply of services. For supply of goods list, all those activities, all those transactions which is covered under this list, in that case recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge. And in the list which is for services, in that case also recipient is liable to make the payment under reverse charge. So one by one we are going to start our discussion on the list of supply of goods. Cashew nuts, in that case agricultural is a supplier, agriculturalist is the supplier, in that case cashew nuts is supplied by that agriculturalist and recipient will be registered person. So recipient has to make the payment under reverse charge, supplier is not liable to make the payment. In case of BD wrappers, tendu leaves, tobacco leaves, in that case these products are also supplied by the agriculturalist, hence in that case recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. Sir, एक छोटा सा क्लू देता हूं फॉर मेमोराइज. इन केस ऑफ गुड्स जब हम लोग इस लिस्ट को कंप्लीट करेंगे एट दैट टाइम यू नो that maximum things are from agriculturalist. In maximum cases the supplier is agriculturalist and recipient is registered person. So गवर्नमेंट ने लॉजिकली यहाँ पर ये प्रोविजन इम्पोज किया कि जब एग्रीकल्चरलिस्ट कोई सप्लाई कर रहा है, इन दैट केस रिसिपिएंट हैज टू मेक द पेमेंट अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज. So that is what is the logic behind this. In case of silk yarn is manufactured by a manufacturer. In that case, if manufacturer is going to make the supply to any registered person, in that case, registered person is liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge. Lottery. Lottery is to be issued by the state government, union government, और जब भी government कोई supply करेगी, in that case, recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. Government is not going to make the payment of taxes. Raw cotton. We all know that cotton is also produced by the agriculturalist. In that case, if agriculturalist is going to make the supply to registered person, in that case also registered person will be liable to make the payment of taxes. If central government, state government, union territory is going to make the supply of any used vehicles or seized vehicle, हम लोग देखते हैं पुलिस स्टेशन में कई सारे व्हीकल्स पड़े होते हैं, एक स्टिपुलेटेड टाइम तक वो उसको रखते हैं, then after they are going to sell the same. And if these type of vehicles are going to sell by that central government, state government or union territory, in that case if some registered person is going to buy the same, in that case GST should be payable by that registered person. That supplier is not going to make the payment of taxes. Purchase of priority sector lending certificates. Government is going to issue that priority sector lending certificates. Reserve Bank of India is going to issue. In that case, that Reserve Bank of India or SBI is going to make the supply of that priority sector lending certificates through other banks or other NBFCs. In that case, that NBFC or other recipient bank will be liable to make the payment of taxes. So सेक्शन 9 सबसेक्शन 3 के अंदर ये जो गुड्स की लिस्ट है, इसके अंदर हम लोगों ने कवर किया कैश्यू नट्स, बीडी रैपर्स, तेंदू लीव्स, सिल्क यार्न, लॉटरी, रॉ कॉटन, यूज्ड व्हीकल्स एंड प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर लैंडिंग सर्टिफिकेट्स. अगर इन गुड्स की सप्लाई होती है, इन दैट केस सप्लायर इज नॉट लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. इन दैट केस रिसिपिएंट इज लायबल टू मेक द payment of taxes. There is no requirement to memorize the list. Just keep in your mind, just make your logic, and from your logic, you just need to memorize the things, and it will be more easy for you. Now, supply of services. Now we are going to start our discussion on the list of services and all these lists. If someone is going to make the supply of these type of services to someone else, in that case, recipient will be liable to make the payment under reverse charge. So we are going to start our discussion one by one on the list of services. अगर आपको गुड्स की लिस्ट में कोई भी डाउट हो, if there is any doubt in the list of that goods, in that case you may comment in the chat box. Chat box is open in front of me. Now, if any GTA, that is goods travel agency, goods transport agency, is going to make any supply of services to any registered person, any factory. Suppose I am an owner of factory, and for transportation of my goods, if I am going to take the services of any GTA, and GTA is going to make supply to me of that particular services, and he is going to make the invoices of 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh rupees. In that case, that GTA is not liable to make the payment of taxes. I am, as a factory owner, as a registered person, as a society, I am liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. So first service, which is GTA, and this service is very much normal. ओके, देयर इज नथिंग स्पेसिफिक, देयर इज नथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट, ये बहुत ज्यादा नॉर्मल है। पिछले 6 सालों से हम लोग जीएसटी के अंदर हैं। आप लोग एज ए डिपार्टमेंटल अथॉरिटी हो सकते हैं, मैं एज प्रोफेशनल हो सकता हूं। सो वी नो वेरी वेल दिस थिंग इन केस ऑफ जीटी। और जैसे ही जीएसटी ऑडिट आती है, डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिट आती है, दे आर गोइंग टू चेक द रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म कि उसने सही रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म पे किया है या फिर नहीं किया है। और डिपार्टमेंटल अथॉरिटी इज गोइंग टू चेक द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एक्सपेंसेस। मैं जहां पर भी ट्रेनिंग सेशन लेने के लिए जाता हूं, चाहे वो फिजिकल हो या फिर वो वर्चुअल हो, आई एम अगेन एंड अगेन सेइंग, जो चीज नॉर्मल है आप उसको केवल चेक कर लो, उस पर इतना एम्फेसिस मत दो। यू जस्ट नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई अदर थिंग्स इन दैट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, इन दैट प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट, इन द लेजर्स, दैट these are the supply on which RCM should be applicable, but RCM has not been paid by that particular party. हम लोग आइडेंटिफाई कुछ और ही करते हैं और हमको आइडेंटिफाई कुछ और ही करना होता है एज अ जीएसटी ऑडिट। और व्हेनेवर एज अ प्रोफेशनल वी आर गोइंग टू फाइल द जीएसटी एंड 9 and 9C, or we are going to do the income tax audit of that particular client, this is our responsibility to check the things। कहीं ऐसी कोई गलती तो नहीं हुई है, किसी चीज पे आरसीएम पे होना था, कहीं आरसीएम पे होने से रह तो नहीं गया है, so that at the time of departmental authority we can save our client from the penalty। So both the possibilities are there, and we need to be very much careful in that case. There are multiple things is available which we need to check in day-to-day basis, on monthly basis, or yearly basis. Legal services provided directly or indirectly by an advocate, including senior advocate or forms of advocate. If any advocate is providing the legal services, the advocacy services, in that case, that business entity, that is recipient of service, will be liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. That advocate is not going to make any type of taxes. But if any advocate is going to provide the services of return filing, कई सारे टैक्स कंसल्टेंट है जो कि एडवोकेट है, और अगर वो टैक्स कंसल्टेंसी की सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करवा रहे हैं, दैट इज टैक्स रिटर्न फाइलिंग की सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करवा रहे हैं, इन दैट केस वी कैन से रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म विल नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल। Reverse charge mechanism is specifically applicable in case of legal services, and the definition of legal services is any service provided in relation to advice, consultancy, assistance in any manner, and includes representational services before any court, tribunal, or authority. In that case, RCM will be applicable. I am an advocate also. I am doing the litigation also. Okay. जब भी मैं कोई litigation की services देता हूँ, at that time I am not going to make the invoice with GST. In that case, recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. और whenever जब मैं रिटर्न फाइलिंग की सर्विसेज या फिर एनी अदर सर्विसेज के लिए कोई भी इनवॉइस रेज करता हूं, इन दैट केस आई एम गोइंग टू चार्ज द जीएसटी। दैट इज व्हाट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म। Now, services provided by the arbitral tribunal to any business entity. Suppose there is a dispute between two business, or there is a dispute between any business entity. In that case there is a arbitral tribunal is situated, और अगर arbitral tribunal कोई services provide करवाता है, dispute resolution की services provide करवाता है, in that case that arbitral tribunal is not going to make the payment of taxes. That service recipient, that is that business entity, is liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. Sponsorship services provided to any body, corporate or partnership firm. If any type of sponsorship services is provided, suppose I am providing any sponsorship services to any organization, that sir, I am going to provide this sponsor, you are going to help this event, and I am going to make the sponsorship for that particular event. In that case, if I am going to provide the sponsorship services to any organization, if there is any GST will be chargeable on that sponsorship services, in that case, the recipient, that is that organization, will be liable to make the payment of taxes with the reverse charge mechanism. Any service which is supplied by the central government, state government, union territory or local authority, in that case recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. That central government, state government, union territory, local authority is not going to make the payment of taxes. But there are certain exceptions to this case. Renting of immobile property, in case any central government, state government, union territory, local authority is going to provide any uh, building on rent, in that case reverse charge mechanism provision will not be applicable. Services of Department of Post, Speed Post, Express Parcel Post, life insurance agency services, in that case also RCM provisions are not applicable. Services in relation to an aircraft vessel inside or outside the port or airport and transportation of goods, all those cases are not covered under the reverse charge mechanism. So, if there is any services which is provided by the central government, state government, local authority or union territory, the recipient is liable to make the payment under reverse charge mechanism. But in case of speed post, that is postal services, vessel aircraft services, renting of immobile property services, these are the exception to this point. Next, renting of immobile property by central government, state government, union authority, local authority, in that case the registered person who is going to take that premises rent will be liable to make the payment under reverse charge mechanism. So जो ऊपर एक्सेप्शन थी उसका 5A यहाँ पर आ गया, और 5A के अंदर उन्होंने स्पेसिफिक कर दिया, if central government is going to provide any property on land rent, in that case on that supply recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. Transfer of development rights or floor space index for construction of a project. If anyone is going to provide the development rights to any promoter, किसी कंपनी के promoter को बोला कि ये मेरे पास में development rights पड़े हैं और इन development rights को मैं आपको transfer कर रहा हूँ, for that transfer I am charging 1 lakh rupees. In that case, recipient, that is promoter, will be liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. Supplier is not going to make the payment. In case of long-term lease, that is 30 year or more, if I am a landlord and I am going to provide my land on lease on to any promoter of any company. Okay. In that case, if I am going to make that lease in favor of that promoter, in that case, the tax will be paid by that promoter under reverse charge mechanism. I am not going to make the payment of tax. This is a specific service which is mentioned in this section 9, subsection 3. Services supplied by a director of a company or a body corporate to that said company or body corporate. That means if any director is going to provide any services to the company, okay, suppose I am a director in Auto Consultancy Private Limited, and if I am going to provide any services to Auto Consultancy, in that case, Batu Consultancy will be liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. As a director, I am not liable to make the payment under reverse charge mechanism. Then, services by an insurance agent to any person carrying insurance business. अगर कोई इंश्योरेंस एजेंट इंश्योरेंस कंपनी की कोई सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करवाता है या फिर इंश्योरेंस कंपनी के बिहाफ पे काम करता है, इन दैट केस दैट इंश्योरेंस एजेंट इज नॉट गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस, दैट इंश्योरेंस कंपनी विल गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज mechanism. Bank is going to appoint multiple recovery agents. Okay, in that case, recovery agent is going to provide their supply of services to that particular bank. In that case, that recovery agent is not liable to make the payment of taxes. The bank or NBFC is liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. Next, copyright services by a music composer, photographer, artist like related to original musical artistic work. अगर कोई म्यूजिक कंपोजर, फोटोग्राफर या फिर आर्टिस्ट अपनी सर्विसेज किसी फोटोग्राफर कंपनी या फिर किसी म्यूजिक कंपनी को प्रोवाइड करवाता है, इन दैट केस म्यूजिक कंपनी इज लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट अंडर रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म, दैट म्यूजिक कंपोजर और दैट फोटोग्राफर इज नॉट लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. सर अगर आप थोड़ा सा लॉजिक लगाएंगे, इफ यू आर गोइंग अप्लाई very less amount of your logic, in that case you got that idea that sir these provisions are very logical, क्योंकि वो म्यूजिक कंपोजर, वो छोटा सा फोटोग्राफर इज नॉट लेबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. इन दैट केस म्यूजिक कंपनी इज गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट. Recovery agent, insurance agent is not going to make the payment of taxes. Hence, that company, that NBFC, that bank, financial institution is make the payment of taxes. In the next case, author, if author is going to provide the services of authorship to a publisher, in that case, author is not going to make the payment of taxes. That publisher is going to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. There is one committee is available under reverse charge mechanism, that is overseeing committee of RBI. If that committee is going to provide any services, if the member of that committee is going to provide any services to Reserve Bank of India, in that case that committee member is not likely to make the payment of taxes, that RBI is going to make the payment of taxes. Sir, many times banks are going to appoint DSA, that is direct selling agent, and direct selling agents are capture the market on behalf of that company. And if that direct selling agent is going to provide their services to that particular banking company or that NBFC, in that case, that direct selling agent is not able to make the payment of taxes. That banking company or NBFC will be liable to make the payment of taxes. बैंक कई सारे बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट अपॉइंट करती है. इन दैट केस दैट बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस इज गोइंग टू प्रोवाइड एनी सर्विस दैट बैंकिंग कंपनी. इन दैट केस बैंकिंग कंपनी इज लायबल टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. दैट बिजनेस फैसिलिटी इज नॉट गोइंग टू मेक द पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस. सर आप लोग सोच रहे होंगे these points are relevant, but how we can use these things in our practical life? Suppose you are doing the work of any NBFC or any bank, or you are doing the audit of any NBFC or any bank. In that case you need to check each and everything के ऐसी अगर कोई चीज है जो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट के अंदर आई है, इन दैट केस बैंक ने, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन ने, एनबीएफसी ने, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी ने रिवर्स चार्ज के अंदर टैक्स का पेमेंट किया है या फिर नहीं किया है. दैट एनबीएफसी, दैट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन, दैट बैंक has paid the taxes under RCM or not, this is we need to satisfy, we need to certify. Okay, so all these points are relevant whenever you are going for the practical exposure, whenever going to the whenever you are going to check these things in a practical industry. In that case you found that all these things are available in the books of accounts. There is chances there should be certain manipulation are also available, so we need to identify the same. On the basis of that we need to make our decision, we need to make our judgment. So these things are really very important. सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय एन एजेंट ऑफ द बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट टू दैट बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट। ऊपर था बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट ने भी कोई एजेंट अपॉइंट किया हुआ है। इफ एन एजेंट इज अपॉइंटेड बाय दैट बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट एंड इफ दैट एजेंट इज गोइंग टू प्रोवाइड देयर सर्विसेज टू दैट बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट, in that case business correspondent is liable to make the payment of taxes, that agent is not liable to make the payment of taxes. Security services by way of supply of security personnel. If any security agency is going to provide the security services to any company, any registered person, in that case, that registered person will be liable to make the payment of taxes. That security company is not going to make the payment of taxes. That is what is the importance. Services provided by way of renting of any motor vehicle designed to carry passenger where the cost of fuel is included in the consideration charged from the service recipient. Suppose किसी कंपनी ने कोई मोटर व्हीकल हायर पे लिया और उस मोटर व्हीकल वाले को बोला जो फ्यूल की कॉस्ट है ना वो भी आप उसमें इंक्लूड कर देना, बिकॉज if that transport company is going to provide their services for 10 rupees per kilometer, in that case transportation cost is included. In that case that body corporate, that company is going to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. That that transport is not liable to make the payment of taxes. Okay, because he has provided the inclusive rate of the fuel. In that case, that recipient is liable to make the payment of taxes. That service provider is not liable to make the payment of taxes. Once confirm me in the chat box. हम लोगों ने approx 15 services यहाँ पे discuss की. Each and every service is okay for you. Next is priority lending certificates. If someone is going to provide that priority sector lending certificates, in that case, borrower is liable to make the payment of taxes. That lender is not liable to make the payment of taxes. Priority sector lending certificates are issued by the Reserve Bank of India or State Bank of India to the NBFC and other authorities. Okay. In that case, that recipient, that is borrower, is liable to make the payment of taxes. So यहाँ पर हम लोगों ने रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म सेक्शन 3 को कंप्लीट किया. एज पर सेक्शन 3 देयर इज लिस्ट is available for specific goods and specific services. In case of goods, maximum parts on account of the agriculturalist, हमने देखा कि वहां पर recipient will be liable to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. Or we have discussed about approx 16 terms in that list of services, and all these services are covered under the reverse charge mechanism. Once confirm in the chat box that reverse charge mechanism topic is clear, because this is a very important topic from revenue leakage point of view, from compliance point of view. Just confirm me in the chat box that sir, RCM topic is okay for you, so that I can take the next topic, that is time of supply. Are you enjoying the session? Boring तो नहीं है? Are you enjoying the session? Are you understand the things? So now we are going to start our discussion on time of supply under GST section 12, 13, 14. I am expecting replies from each and every one. Complete GST law is based on 3 to 4 things. Okay. If you have idea about these 3 to 4 things, if you master in these 3 to 4 things, in that case, you can easily handle the GST. Okay. There is nothing important. You just need to identify the things. You just need to analyze the things. Suppose I am going to share the things which is important in GST. First, if you have idea, if you know each and everything about supply under GST. आपने ये डिसाइड कर लिया कि दिस पर्टिकुलर एक्टिविटी और दिस पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन इज टू बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ सप्लाई. Okay, in that case, you had done first step in GST. So we had already covered this as per section 7 of CGST Act. Then after you need to identify what will be the time of supply. Okay, you need to idea for that. Then after we have the valuation, that is value of supply. Then one more important thing is their place of supply. And then we have input tax grant. Section 12 with 13, 14. Value of supply section 15. Place of supply section 14 of IGST. Input tax credit section 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. These are the basic, these are the pillars of GST. If you have idea about these supply, time of supply, place of supply, in that case, this is इफ यू हैव आइडिया अबाउट दीज थिंग्स और अगर आपने इन चीजों का नॉलेज ले लिया, इनका डीप एनालिसिस कर लिया, इन दैट केस यू कैन एनालाइज कंप्लीट जीएसटी लॉ, क्योंकि सारी की सारी चीजें इन 5 पिलर के इर्द गिर्द ही घूमती है, इससे बाहर कुछ भी नहीं. अगर रिफंड भी आएगा तो वो इससे रिलेटेड ही आएगा, असेसमेंट एंड ऑडिट भी आएगा तो वो भी इससे रिलेटेड आएगा, डिमांड एंड रिकवरी वो भी इससे रिलेटेड आएगा. इफ आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस ऑन स्पेसिफिक इंडस्ट्रीज लाइक टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री, ई कॉमर्स इंडस्ट्री, बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री, whatever with the industry, all these industries are from these points. So supply is okay. Now we are going to start time of supply, and I just need to take a point number 11. Point number 11 is DSA, direct selling agent. In that case, banks are appointing direct selling agent for the business expansion. They are selling the product of various banks, and for that purposes, bank is going to provide a certain amount to that direct selling agent. Suppose 3%, 4%, 5%, whatever will be. In that case, if bank is going to provide suppose 5 lakh rupees to that DSA, in that case DSA is not liable to make the payment of taxes on that supply of services. Bank is liable to make the payment of taxes at the rate specified under reverse charge mechanism. Is that okay? DSA point, direct selling point is okay. Just confirm me in the chat box so that I can take the next point. Now we need to decide the time of supply. सर अगर आपका ये 11 नंबर पॉइंट क्लियर हो तो यू मे कमेंट मी इन द चैट बॉक्स सो दैट इट इज इजी फॉर मी. ना टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई की अगर मैं बात करूं, यू नीड टू डिसाइड द टाइम दैट व्हेन वी नीड टू चार्ज द जीएसटी. बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है फ्रॉम रेवेन्यू लिंकेज के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से. एट द टाइम ऑफ फाइलिंग ऑफ जीएसटी आर 9 and 9C, वी नीड टू चेक दैट द टैक्स इज पेड ऑन द टाइम ऑफ नॉट, बिकॉज सपोज as per the rules of time of supply, as per the provisions of time of supply, अगर उसका टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई का टैक्सेस पेबल बन रहा था 29 जून को, और अगर वो उसको बुक करता है 1 जुलाई को, इन दैट केस देयर इज अ डिले इन पेमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस टू द गवर्नमेंट बाय 30 डेज. 30 दिन का यहाँ पर डिले हो गया पेमेंट टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ टैक्सेस, और 30 डेज का अगर कोई बड़ा अमाउंट है, इफ द अमाउंट इज इन करोड़, इन दैट केस द रेवेन्यू लीकेज इज वेरी ह्यूज. सो कई बार हम लोग सोचते हैं टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई क्या है. सो वी नीड टू चेक दैट द अकाउंटिंग, द बुकिंग ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन इज एज पर द प्रोविजन ऑफ टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज अवेलेबल और नॉट. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट अवर डिस्कशन. सो प्रोविजन है टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. सो सप्लाई यहां पर किस चीज की होगी? मे बी फॉर गुड्स, मे बी फॉर सर्विसेज. Okay, or if the supply is for goods, in that case chances good supply will be under forward charge or good supply will be under reverse charge. The same provision in case of services, services may be provided under forward charge or under reverse. Okay, so we can say as per this chart, supply is for supply of goods or supply of services. Under goods, forward charge, reverse charge. Under services, forward charge, reverse charge. Before moving ahead, मैं just एक चीज clear कर दूं. सर एडवांसेस पर भी जीएसटी लगता है. There is a GST provision on account of advances also. But in case of advances on account of goods, there is no GST. On account of advances on account of services, GST should be charged. Suppose I am going to launch my one session on GST audit and assessment in the first week of July. Okay. और मैंने उसकी जो डिटेल है वो 25th ऑफ जून को ही मेरे वेबसाइट के ऊपर लॉन्च कर दी एंड अकॉर्डिंगली आई हैव रिसीव्ड अराउंड 100 registrations. Okay, 100 registration multiplied by 1000 rupees, that is 1 lakh rupees I got. In that case मेरा सेशन कब है? 5th of July को. But I had already received the payment on 25th June. That is at that this is the advance for my services. In that case we can say that on account of services, if someone is going to receive anything in advance, in that case there is GST. But suppose अगर मैं कोई books sale कर रहा हूँ और on account of that books, if I had received the amount in advance, in that case there is no GST on advances on account of goods, but there is GST applicable on account of advances on account of the supply of services. Okay, sir. So this is a very basic provision. This is a very basic principle. But before moving ahead, this should be we should know this fact. Okay. So now, Section 12 of CGST Act talks about the time of supply of goods. That is, what will be the time of supply in case of supply of goods. So we can say the time of supply of goods shall be earlier of the following. Okay, in case of goods, earlier of the following: your date of issue of invoices or date on which supplier receives the payment. So sir, यहाँ पे इसको कट कर दो. Invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. Suppose invoice is raised on 25th of June and payment is received on 25th of May. In that case, supply of goods, there is no GST on account of advances. That means जो आपने 25th of May को जो पैसा रिसीव किया उसके ऊपर कोई GST नहीं लगने वाला है, उस एडवांसेस पे GST नहीं लगने वाला है. सो यहाँ पर अगर किसी को पैसा पहले भी मिल गया, in case of supply of goods, there is no GST. So in case of time of supply, for the supply of goods, the time of supply will be of date of issue of invoice. ओके सर, इज दैट ओके? अब दिस इज योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. जो भी टाइम हम लोग डिसाइड कर रहे हैं, टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इन सर्टेन स्पेसिफिक केसेस, यू जस्ट नीड कंफर्म मी वन बाय वन दैट दिस सिचुएशन इज क्लियर. अगर आपको सिचुएशन में कोई भी डाउट आता है, यू कैन कमेंट इन द चैट बॉक्स. आई मे टेक द एग्जांपल फॉर दैट. ओके, सो इन केस of supply of goods, अगर कोई पूछेगा time of supply, in that case the date of invoice will be the time of supply. The date of invoice will be the time of supply, because the provision is as per section 12 subsection 1, the provision is invoice of payment whichever is earlier, but in case of goods there is no payment of taxes at the time of advances. So basically conclusively the place of supply will be the date of issue of invoices in case of time of supply goods. Now as per section 12 subsection 3, in case of reverse charge mechanism for goods, what will be the time of supply? When the receipt of goods, earlier of the following, तीन चीजें हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे. इन तीनों में से जो भी पहले हो गई, that will be your time of supply. Whenever you are going for the departmental audit or whenever we are going for the GST and 9 and 9C, in that case for big transactions we need to check that the time of supply is perfect or not. कब उसने गुड्स रिसीव किया है, यू कैन गॉट दैट आइडिया फ्रॉम द बिल्डिंग और इनवर्ड सप्लाई रजिस्टर. और कब उसके पेमेंट्स बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में एंट्री हुए, कब उसके बैंक में रिसीव हुए, यू नीड चेक दीस थिंग्स आल्सो. सो द डेट ऑफ रिसिप्ट ऑफ द गुड्स, the date of payment as entered in the books of accounts or payment is debited in the bank account whichever is earlier or immediately 30 days from the date of issue of invoice. इन तीनों में से जो भी पहले रिसिप्ट ऑफ गुड्स एंट्री बुक्स में हो गई और 30 days from the issue of the invoice, whichever is earlier, that will be time of supply and tax is to be paid accordingly. Okay. Suppose in that specific case, receipt of goods is on 15 जून 2023, entry in books of accounts is on 16 जून 2023. Immediately 30 days from the date of issue of invoice. So invoice should be issued as on 30th June. So from 30th June to 30 days will be 20th July 2023. In तीनों में से whichever is earlier will be the time of supply, that is 15th June 2023 will be the time of supply, and GST should be paid in the month of, in the return of June month. Okay. सो थोड़ा सा आपको भी एक्टिवली होकर के इसको डिस्कस करना पड़ेगा. In case of supply of goods, time of supply will be the date of issue of invoice in case of forward charge. In case of reverse charge, when the goods is received by the recipient or payment is entered in the books of accounts or 30 days from the issue of invoice, whichever is earlier will be the time of supply. Now, in case of voucher, sir, जब भी हम लोग मिंत्रा से, अमेजोन से, when we are going to buy certain things, they are going to provide us a voucher. That's on our next shopping. You are getting this product. You are off. You are getting 200 off on that particular supply. If the redemption value of that voucher is identified, in that case, जिस दिन आपको वो voucher मिला ना, that date will be treated as time of supply and GST should be charged accordingly. But if you have no idea about the redemption value of that voucher, in that case, जब आप redemption करोगे उस voucher का, that time will be treated as time of supply. Suppose I am going to the Reliance Mall and they are providing me one voucher for 500 rupees, and I know that this voucher is for 500 rupees. Whenever I will come next time to that particular Reliance Mall, I will get off of 500 rupees. That means I know the identifiable value of that voucher. In that case, जब Reliance ने मुझे वो voucher दिया, at that time को माना जाएगा कि this is at a time of supply and GST should be charged accordingly. But in next case, suppose Reliance is giving me a voucher and there is no specific things on that voucher. They are saying whenever you are coming in next time, we are providing you a particular thing with your shopping. In that case, that voucher is not identifiable. Hence, whenever I am going to redeem that voucher, that will be treated as time of supply and GST should be charged accordingly. That is what is the provision as per section 12, section 4. Now, section 12, subsection 5, where it is not possible to determine the time of supply under the subsection 2, 3 or 4. That means in case of supply of goods, in case of supply of services, or in case of supply of vouchers. In that case, where a critical return has to be filed, the date on which such return is to be filed. जिस दिन वो रिटर्न भरा जाना है, that will be treated as your time of supply. Suppose that voucher is supplied in the month of June and I have no idea about that identifiable value and all those things. In that case, when I am going to file the return of that June month, that will be treated as my time of supply and I need to make the payment of taxes. That is for June month. The return filing date will be 20th July. So that 20th July will be time of supply and I need to make the payment of taxes accordingly. In any other cases, date on which the tax is paid, that will be treated as my time of supply. Suppose I am a composition taxable person or I had selected for quarterly return monthly payment. In that case, when I am going to make the payment of taxes on monthly basis, that will be treated as the time of supply. अगर गुड्स है, इनवॉइस की डेट हो जाएगा. इफ रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म है, जिस दिन गुड्स रिसीव हुआ या फिर बुक्स में एंट्री हुई या फिर 30 डेज फ्रॉम द इश्यू ऑफ इनवॉइसेस, दैट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. इन केस ऑफ वाउचर, आइडेंटिफिएबल द डेट ऑफ इश्यू ऑफ द वाउचर. इफ नॉट आइडेंटिफिएबल, रिडम्पशन. अगर मैं टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई डिसाइड नहीं कर पा रहा हूं, इफ आई एम नॉट एबल टू डिसाइड द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई एज पर सबसेक्शन 2, 3 and 4, in that case I can take the reference of section 12 subsection 5, that is on the date of filing of my return, और जिस दिन मैं पेमेंट करूंगा वो माना जाएगा मेरा टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. एज पर सेक्शन 12 subsection 6, the time of supply to the extent it relates to an addition in the value of supply by way of interest, late fees, penalty for delayed payment of any consideration shall be the date on which the supplier receives such additional value. If there is any addition, Suppose I make a supply to Mr. X, or Mr. X is not going to make payment to me within the terms which is specified in our agreement. That is, Mr. X has to make the payment to me within 90 days. और अगर वो 90 days में payment मुझे नहीं करता है, in that case I am going to charge interest on that particular person. In that case, question arises: what will be the time of supply for that interest? Because interest मैंने 90 days के बाद में चार्ज किया है. So as per section 12 subsection 6, whenever there is an addition on account of interest or late fee, जब ऐसा एडिशन होता है, दैट इज आफ्टर 90 डेज मैंने वो एडिशन किया, सो द डेट ऑफ एडिशन विल बी ट्रीटेड एज टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई एंड जीएसटी शुड बी चार्ज्ड अकॉर्डिंगली. I suppose that time of supply in case of goods is okay for you. Just comment in the chat box. I am asking because this is an analytical point, this is an logical point, थोड़ा सा calculative point है. So I am asking you that all these sections, subsections, section 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is clear. फटाफट से आप मुझे चैट बॉक्स के अंदर कमेंट करके बता दो कि सेक्शन 12 इज ओके फॉर यू, सो दैट आई कैन टेक द नेक्स्ट सेक्शन, दैट इज सेक्शन 13. I am waiting for your reply. Section 12, subsection 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is okay. Now, section 13, subsection 1. So, section 13 is applicable in case of time of supply on account of services. Time of supply on account of goods is okay. Now, we are going to start our discussion on time of supply on account of services. The liability to pay tax on services shall arises at the time of supply, so determined in accordance with the provisions of this section. So, as per section 13, subsection 2, the time of supply of services shall be the earliest in case of forward charge. So, section 13 subsection 2 will be applicable in case of forward charge. Okay, in case of forward charge, time of supply will be the date of issue of invoices or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. As we had already discussed that in case of supply of services, GST will be chargeable on account of advances. So, in case of time of supply on account of forward charge, that is, if I am going to provide my consultancy services, so in that case, invoice or payment, whichever is earlier, दोनों में से जो भी पहले होगा, that will be treated as my time of supply, and I need to make the payment of taxes accordingly as per section 13 subsection 2. Now, section 13 subsection 3 will be applicable in case of reverse charge mechanism. And in that case, the time of supply will be earlier of the following dates. The date of payment as entered in the books of accounts of the recipient or date on which the payment is debited from the bank account. जिस दिन बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में एंट्री हुई और जिस दिन बैंक अकाउंट से पेमेंट डेबिट हुआ, whichever is earlier or immediately 60 days from the issue of invoices, दोनों में से whichever is earlier, that will be treated as your time of supply. That means जिस दिन पेमेंट बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में एंटर हुआ और जिस दिन बैंक अकाउंट में डेबिट हुआ, इन दोनों में से जो भी जल्दी हो, इन दोनों में से जो भी जल्दी हो, और the date immediately 60 days after the date of invoice, that will be treated as the time of supply. Suppose I just want to take the example. Suppose किसी सर्विस के लिए, suppose I am going to provide my consultancy services. Okay, and in that consultancy services, in case of reverse charge mechanism, Mr. Palash is going to Mr. Palash is going to take my services, take my consultancy services, and Mr. Palash is going to enter these services in the books of accounts of Mr. Palash as on 15th June 2023, and amount debited from books of accounts on 14th June 2023, whichever is earlier, that is 14th June 2023. And immediately after 60 days from the issue of invoices, suppose मैंने जो invoice दी थी वो 15th May को दे दी, 15th May. So 60 days from that date will be 30th July 2023. In दोनों में से whichever is earlier, that is 14th 6th 2023 will be the time of supply, and when while filing the GST at 3B return of June month, Mr. Palas has to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism for that particular supply. Is that okay? This example is related to reverse charge mechanism and time of supply. Okay, because यहाँ पर 3 dates थी, so मैंने एक example ले लिया so that it will be easy for us. Now if there is any voucher is available on account of supply and that voucher is identifiable at the time of supply, in that case जब वो date of voucher, date of issue of voucher will be treated as time of supply. If the voucher is not identifiable, in that case the rate of redemption will be treated as the time of supply. That is what is the concept of section 13 subsection 4. Now section 13 subsection 5 says that if you are not able to decide the time of supply as per section 13 subsection 1 2 3 4, in that case you can take the reference of section 13 subsection 5, that is whenever you are going to file the periodical return, in that case आपके return filing की date will be treated as your time of supply. And if you are not going to decide from that, in that case your date on which you are going to make the payment of taxes, if you had adopted the quarterly return filing and monthly payment scheme, in that case you are going to make the payment on monthly basis and you are going to file the return on quarterly basis, hence your tax payment date will be treated as your time of supply. Now section 13 subsection 6 says if there is any addition on account of interest and late fees, example we had already taken. So if you are going to, if there is any addition on account of interest and late fees, in that case the date of addition will be treated as the time of supply. So in case of supply of services, section 13 subsection 2 talks about the time of supply in case of supply of goods. Okay, or in case of supply of services under forward charge, so the date of payment or your date of invoice, whichever earlier, will be treated as your time of supply. In case of reverse charge mechanism, जिस दिन पेमेंट एंट्री हुई बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में, जिस दिन डेबिट हुआ अमाउंट, और 60 days from the issue of invoices, whichever is earlier will be treated as time of supply. Next, section 13 subsection 4 which is applicable in case of vouchers. Voucher अगर identifiable है, in that case date of issue of voucher will be treated as your time of supply. If the voucher is not identifiable, in that case redemption date will be treated as time of supply. Then after section 13 subsection 5 is talks about if you are not able to decide from subsection 2 3 and 4, in that case you can take the reference of section 13 subsection 5, your return filing due date or tax payment, or section 13 subsection 6 talks about if there is any addition, in that case that addition date will be treated as time of supply. So हम लोगों ने टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई के अंदर यहाँ पर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इन केस ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ गुड्स और टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इन केस ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज वी हैड ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड. ना section 14 section 14 of CGST Act is also very much important. And sir, this is my humble submission to you. Whenever you are going for the departmental audit, whenever you are going for the scrutiny, and whenever you are going for the GST and 9 on 9C as a professional, I am talking, you just need to identify that the time of supply is right or not, time of supply is correct or not. Okay. So change in tax of rate in respect of supply of goods or services, in case the goods or services both have been supplied before the change in rate of tax. Suppose I have received one order for a specific product X. At the time of order, the rate of GST will be 12%. जैसे ही मैंने गुड्स उसको सप्लाई कर दिया, रेट चेंज हो गई, एंड आफ्टर द सप्लाई द रेट ऑफ टैक्स इज 18%. So there is a change of rate. In that case, what will be the time of supply? That is what is the question. And for providing the answer, we have a section 14 of CGST Act. Sir, is that okay? Question is okay that I had made the supply of a particular product to Mr. X. In that case, at the time of making the agreement, the rate of GST was 12%. Post supply, the rate of GST will be 18%, 12%. So in that case, how we can decide the time of supply? For that purposes, where the invoice for the same has been issued or payment is also received after the change in rate of tax. That means invoice or payment both after the change in rate of tax. In that case, invoice or payment whichever is earlier. Suppose मैंने जो गुड्स सप्लाई किया वो 15th जून को सप्लाई किया. आई हैव सप्लाई दैट पर्टिकुलर गुड्स ऑन 15th जून. ओके, एग्रीमेंट हमारा जो बना था, न्यू पेज में ले लेता हूं. गुड सप्लाई एज ऑन 15th जून. एग्रीमेंट जो हमारा बना था वो 13 जून को बना था. At that time, rate of GST will be 12%. Post supply, rate of GST is 18%. Question arises, my invoice is still pending and my payment is also pending. Okay, I am going to make the invoice as on 18th of June. And also I am receiving the payment on 20th June. In that case, what will be the time of supply? Because अगर मैं टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई या पोस्ट सप्लाई वाले ले लूं, इन दैट केस 18% जीएसटी विल बी चार्ज. अगर मैं टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई एट द टाइम ऑफ गुड सप्लाई वाला ले लूं, इन दैट केस 12% विल बी चार्ज. अब आपको पता चला होगा कि टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है. यहाँ पर रेट ही चेंज हो गई. इफ देयर इज अ चेंज ऑफ रेट, इन दैट केस द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई इज वेरी क्रूशियल. We can identify thousands of revenue leakage in that case very easily. So we need to check the things. In that case, if the supply, if the change in rate of tax post supply, in that case, अगर invoice और payment दोनों ही बाद में है, in that case, time of supply will be of invoice or payment whichever is earlier, that is 18th June, 20th June, whichever is earlier, that is 18th June will be time of supply, and GST rate should be charged 18%, not 12%. Okay, now next scenario. Invoice issued prior to change in rate, but payment received after the change in rate. In that case, your invoice date will be treated as your time of supply. Suppose at the time of rate, at the time when the rate was 12%, the supplier has issued the invoices with that rate and payment is received the post rate change. In that case, आपकी जो invoice की date है ना, that will be treated as time of supply and GST should be charged accordingly. That means in that case, the rate of GST will be 12%. Next, payment received prior to change in rate tax, but invoice after the time of supply. In that case, the date of payment, that means suppose you had received the payment when the rate was 12% and you had made the invoices, there is an advance, and and you had issued the invoices after the rate of change. In that case, the GST will be charged at the rate of 12% only, because I or P whichever is earlier, invoice or payment whichever is earlier, so you had already received the payment, so GST should be charged at the rate of 12%. Sir, ये तीन पॉइंट आपके दिमाग में क्लियर है क्या? If you have any doubt, you can raise the same in the chat box. If you have any doubt, you are free to raise the questions in the chat box. If no, then I am going to take the next situation. In our first situation, goods has already been supplied before the change in rate of taxes, and after the change in rate of taxes, if you are going to issue the invoice and receive the payment, in that case, invoice or payment whichever is earlier, that will be treated as time of supply. In case invoice पहले issue हो गई है, payment बाद में है, in that case your date of invoice will be treated as your time of supply. You are going to issue invoice later, receiving payment prior. In that case, your payment receipt date will be treated as your time of supply, and in that case, GST will be charged accordingly. Now, next situation. In case of goods or services, both have been supplied after change of rate in tax. अभी जो हम लोगों ने सिचुएशन डिस्कस की थी, we had discussed the situation in that goods has already supplied before the change in rate of tax. Now second situation is that I just want to repeat the things. Okay, suppose there is a particular product X product is there, okay, and the current rate of X product is 12%. Current rate of product X is 12%. Okay, I had made the supply of that particular product on 12th June. On 15th June 2023, there is a change in rate, and the new rate is 18%. Old rate was 12%, new rate is 18%. I had made the supply on 12th June, and 15th of June there is a change of rate. Okay. Suppose invoice date is 18th June and I had received the payment on 20th June. In that case, question is that what will be the time of supply? So in that case, your invoice or your payment, whichever is earlier, will be the time of supply. That means your 18th June will be treated as time of supply, and GST should be charged at the rate of 18% because you are going to make the time of supply as 18th June or 15 June को rate already change हो चुकी. Okay. Now the next situation. In that case, suppose invoice जो है 12th June की है before change in rate and payment is 18th of June. In that case, time of supply will be the date of issue of invoice, that is 12th June. Hence, GST rate will be 12% because at the time of invoice there was a rate of GST was 12% and time of supply is also 12th June. In third situation, suppose invoice date is 18th June, that is post change in rate and payment is on 12th June. You have received the advance on account of that supply. In that case, your payment date, that is 12th June, will be treated as your time of supply and GST should be charged accordingly. That is at the rate of 12%. That is what is the concept of time of supply. In that case, goods is already supplied before the change in rate of tax. Vinod ji, is that okay? And for each and everyone, is that okay? If this point is okay for you, in that case, I can take the next point. Okay. Now, in case of goods or services or both have been supplied after the change in rate of taxes. Earlier, the rate of tax was 12%. Now the rate is 18%. After that change, if someone is going to make the supply of these goods, in that case, payment is after the change of rate in tax, but invoice issued before the change in rate of tax, then time of supply will be receipt of payment. बिकॉज सर लॉजिकली सोचो ना, यहां पर क्या हो रहा है, गुड्स बाद में सप्लाई हो रहा है, दैट इज व्हेन द रेट वाज 12%, उससे पहले गुड्स सप्लाई नहीं हुआ, व्हेन द रेट वाज 18% एंड पोस्ट चेंज if someone is going to make the supply of that particular goods, in that case लॉजिकली यहाँ पर हाईएस्ट रेट जो निम्नली रेट है वो लगनी चाहिए. वी कैन नॉट यूज हाईएस्ट रेट बिकॉज उल्टा भी हो सकता है. सो द न्यू रेट है वो लगनी चाहिए. सो इन दैट स्पेसिफिक केस गुड्स इज सप्लाइड आफ्टर द चेंज ऑफ रेट एंड टैक्स एंड इनवॉइस यहां पर पहले ही इश्यू हो गई थी बिफोर द चेंज इन डेट ऑफ टैक्स, बट पेमेंट इज आफ्टर द चेंज ऑफ रेट एंड टैक्स. In that case, your date of payment will be your time of supply, hence the GST should be charged at the new rate. Next, when payment or invoice both prior to change in rate, in that case time of supply will be invoice or payment whichever is earlier. अगर दोनों ही पहले हो गए, invoice भी पहले इश्यू हो गई, पेमेंट भी पहले इश्यू हो गया, in that case the product is confirmed, hence the old rate should be applicable, hence the provision is that invoice or payment whichever is earlier. Next situation, Payment is received prior to the change in rate of tax, but the invoice is pending. Invoice is after the change in rate of tax. In that case, your time of supply will be your date of issue of invoices, and GST should be charged accordingly. That is what is the concept of this fundamental section 14. Just confirm me in the chat box. I just want reply from each and everyone that sir, this change in rate of tax is okay for each and everyone. Now, tax invoice as per section 31. Sir, we are going to discuss the definition of tax invoice. When we need to issue the tax invoices, we are going to discuss on that term also. So, a registered person supplying taxable goods sell before or at the time of removal of goods for supply to the recipient. Whenever you are going to remove the goods, at that time you need to issue the invoices. That is what is the provision of section 31 subsection 1. कई बार जब हम लोग गुड्स को डिटेन करती है डिपार्टमेंटल अथॉरिटी, दैट केस दे आर इशूइंग द नोटिसेस अंडर विद द रेफरेंस ऑफ सेक्शन 31 सबसेक्शन 1 आल्सो, एंड दे आर सेइंग दैट एट द टाइम ऑफ रिमूवल ऑफ गुड्स देयर वाज नो इनवॉइसेस अवेलेबल. एज पर सेक्शन 31 सबसेक्शन 1, इनवॉइस शुड बी अवेलेबल एट द टाइम ऑफ रिमूवल ऑफ गुड्स. So, at the time of litigation, whenever we are going to file our reply, we also use the language of law, and we need to provide the reply as per the definition, as per the sections which is provided in the GST law. Supply of goods, making available thereof to the recipient in any other case. Issue a tax invoice showing the description, quality and value should be required in that tax invoice. Okay, sir. So, this is an important term. A registered person may not issue a tax invoice if the value of goods or services is less than 200 rupees. In that case, there is no requirement of a single invoice. You can issue a consolidated invoice. For the composition taxable person, section 10, that is composition taxable person, there is no requirement of tax invoice. They can issue the bill of supply. In case of advances, there is no requirement to issue the tax invoice. In case of advances, you just issue the receipt. Okay, payment receipt के लिए you need to issue the receipt voucher. If there is any refund of that advance amount, in that case you need to issue the refund vouchers. So sir, as a departmental authority, whenever you are going for the departmental audit, and as a professional, we also need to be careful that these documents is required to be maintained with us. Okay, hence I am sharing this section 31. This is also an important. These are the documents. You have the tax invoice. If you are registered under composition taxable person, in that case, bill of supply should be there. In that case, if you are making any payment on account of advances, and if you are receiving any payment on account of advances, in that case, the receipt voucher is there. If you are going to refund that amount, in that case, refund voucher is there. Suppose मुझे कोई advance receive हुआ on account of my services for 1 lakh rupees, and I had made a refund of rupees 50,000 rupees, and I had paid taxes on 50,000 only. At the time of departmental scrutiny, department will going to check the refund voucher for that 50,000 rupees, because I had received 1 lakh rupees, 50,000 I had refunded. So the refund voucher should be there. So from this, we got the idea that what are the necessary document which is required with us in case of successive continuous supply of services. In case of works contract, suppose I want to construct a building for my business, and अगर मैंने उस construction का काम किसी contractor को दे रखा है, in that case they are going to provide me continuous invoices on monthly basis. In that case, the continuous जो statement आएगा ना, that will be the proof, and I need to record the same. So these are the documents which should be with us in case of continuous supply of services. Where the due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, the invoice should be issued on or before the date of payment. When the due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, the invoice shall be issued before or at the time of supplier when service receives the payment. In case of continuous supply of services, statement is there. And if as per the contract note there is a period is specified, and for that period I am going to receive the amount, in that case that date will be treated as the issue of invoice, and I need to issue the invoice accordingly. If the period is not mentioned in that contract note, in that case जब भी supplier receive करेगा payment, that time we need to issue the invoices. So whenever we are going for the departmental audit, or whenever we are going to check the data of our clients, in that case we need to identify the agreement also. I am always saying that at the time of litigation, at the time of dispute, each and everything is based on the agreement terms. So whenever we are going to make the agreements, we need to be very much careful for that. Where the goods is sent on approval basis, in that case there is a maximum timeline of 6 months. Suppose I have sent my goods to someone, Mr. X, okay, for sent on approval basis. In that case, if I am going, I need to issue the invoices within 6 months. Okay, या तो वो रिटर्न आ जाए, अगर रिटर्न आ गया, in that case there is no issue. अगर रिटर्न नहीं आया, in that case I need to prepare the invoices in case of sent on approval basis if I am going to make the goods. ओके, कई बार क्या होता है कि व्हेन वी आर गोइंग टू चेक द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट ऑफ अ स्पेसिफिक एंटिटी, तो कोई आइटम है जो है क्लोजिंग स्टॉक में पड़ा होता है, बट व्हेन वी आर गोइंग टू चेक द फिजिकल रजिस्टर देयर इज अ मूवमेंट, इन दैट केस वी नीड टू चेक दैट इस फिजिकल मूवमेंट को और जो क्लोजिंग स्टॉक में शो हो रहा है उसमें के 6 महीने से ज्यादा का गैप तो नहीं है, द गैप इज नॉट मोर देन 6 months. And if there is a gap of more than 6 months, in that case we need to share to that particular person that please book this amount as your sales and pay the tax accordingly. So, and we can take the reference of section 31 subsection 6. So whenever we are going to say anything to our client, or whenever we are going to notice any type of notices to any client, in that case we need to check the relevant section also. So once confirm me that time of supply, we had covered one important topic, that is time of supply. Section 12 in case of goods, section 13 in case of services, section 14 in case of change in rate of tax, section 31 regarding invoice. Is okay for you. Invoice in case of composition taxable person, refund voucher, advance voucher, receipt voucher, in case of continuous supply of services, in case of send or approval basis. Once confirm in the chat box that all these things are okay for you, so that I can take the next topic. And this time I am expecting reply from each and everyone. If you have any doubt, if you have any question, if you have any query related to these points, you are free to ask the questions in the chat box. And if everything is okay, then please comment in the chat box that you got that point. Continuous supply of services. What do you mean by this continuous supply of services? In case of continuous supply of services, suppose I have given a specific work to Mr. X. Specific work to Mr. X. Okay. And for 2 years, In that case, Mr. X is going to provide me services for 2 years, continuous period of 2 years. Okay, in that case सिंगल इनवॉइस होगी नहीं, टाइम टू टाइम इनवॉइसेस होगी. सो मंथली बेसिस पे हो सकता है वी आर गोइंग टू मेक द इनवॉइसेस एंड एज पर द एग्रीमेंट हर 3 महीने के अंदर वी नीड टू प्रिपेयर द इनवॉइसेस. So in that case, as per the agreement that we need to issue the invoices on quarterly basis, in that case, after the end of that quarter, I need to issue the invoices. That is what is the term section 31 says. If there is nothing available in that agreement, in that case, whenever I have given that work to Mr. X, whenever I am going to make the payment to Mr. X, whenever X is going to receive the payment, at that time that will be treated as the date of issue of invoices. जब भी मैं payment करूंगा X को, at that time X needs to prepare the invoices. Is that okay, Vinod ji? In case of continuous supply of services, everything is based on the agreement. In that agreement, if any specific term is available, in that case, according to that term, invoice should be issued. And if there is no any specific term is available, whenever the recipient is received the payment, in that case, invoice should be issued. Is that okay, Vinod ji? So, sir, we had done our discussion on the supply that the particular activity or particular transaction is to be treated as the supply. Okay. Then after we had decided that what will be the time of supply. अब आपको ये भी पता चल गया when we need to charge the GST. We got that idea that when we need to charge the GST. अब sir, what is the value on which we need to charge the GST? So we need to decide the value. So when I am saying that we need to decide the value, at that time we need to take the reference of section 15 of CGST Act. Now we are going to read the section 15 subsection 1 and section 15 subsection 2 in our today's session. Rest we are going to discuss in our tomorrow's session. Okay, sir. So basic things I am just going to cover. Not deep discussion is there. We are going to deeply cover this point in our tomorrow's session. So, as per section 15, subsection 1, transaction value will be the value of supply. Transaction value will be the value of supply. Suppose I have made a particular, suppose I have issued my course for 1599, 1500 rupees. Okay, 1599 में मैंने कोई course issue किया. In that case, the transaction value will be 1599 and I need to charge GST on that 1599. Okay, but you need to charge GST on that 1599 in case buyer and supplier is not a related party. Buyer and supplier is not the related party and price is the sole consideration. So in our case, I am going to sell the course for 1599. In that case, I am a supplier and you are the buyer. There is no relation. Okay, we are not the related party. Second condition, price is the sole consideration. You are paying me just 1599. उसके अलावा कोई भी नहीं देंगे है ना. अगर मेरा कोई केस स्क्रूटनी में आएगा, in that case you are going to check each and everything. So, and you should check each and everything. There is no issue with that. I have a lot of clients in Mumbai, Maharashtra itself. So there is no issue with that. That means buyer and supplier का यहाँ पर कोई भी relation नहीं है and price is the sole consideration. 1599 is the final price for me. So in that case, the transaction value will be treated as the value of supply, that is 1599. So whenever you are going for the departmental audit or scrutiny, at the time you need to check that the value is decided as per the correct provisions or not. Value is, in that case, buyer and supplier is not the related party and price is the sole consideration. Sir, आपको हर एक transaction की देखने की जरूरत नहीं है. There is no requirement to check each and every transactions. You just need to identify certain important transactions on the basis of audit report, on the basis of balance sheet, on the basis of profit and loss, on the basis of list of unsecured loans. And from that, you can identify the related party and you can identify the price is the sole consideration from the ledger. So that is what is the way from which we can identify. So basically, आज मैं कोई रेवेन्यू लीकेज का कोई भी सेशन नहीं है यहाँ पर. So as per section 15 subsection 1, Valuation should be transaction value if the buyer and supplier is not the related party and price is the sole consideration. In that, if there is any other expenditure, suppose I have given that course for 1599 and with that course I have provided you one book and postage expenses of that particular book and all other expenditures are also there. Office expenditure hai, telephone expenditure hai, conveyance expenses hai, all those expenditures are there. So the whole expenditures are part to be the taxable value, will be part of the transaction value. Okay, and if there is any CGST, SGST, they will be not part of that transaction value. But if there is any other tax other than the GST, in that case, that will be part of the value of supply. Okay. So now section 15 subsection 1 says the transaction value will be the value of supply if supplier and recipient are not the related person and profit, the price is the sole consideration. Example is Reliance Digital. Now, as per section 15, subsection 2, all the duties, taxes will be the part of value of supply except the GST. Any amount that the supplier is liable to pay in relation to such supply, but recipient has made the payment on behalf of that supplier, in that case, that amount will also included in the value of supply. Suppose for that 1599, 200 is spent by Mr. Vinod. In that case, that 200 is spent by Mr. Vinod on behalf of Sachin Jain. In that case, the value, the transaction value will be 1599, not the 1399. Okay. Now, if there is any incidental expenditure, postal expenditure, commission expenditure, packing expenditure, in that case, that will be part of the value of supply. And if there is an interest, late fees, penalty on account of delayed payment, that will also be the part of value of supply. So, if I am going to decide the value of supply, post profit, कोई भी expenditure है, if there is any taxes other than government taxes, so these all are the part of that value of supply, and value of supply should be decided accordingly. So whenever we are going to check any related party transactions, unsecured transaction, we need to identify that the value of supply is correct or not. So this is all about the section 15 subsection 1 and 2. Okay, so इसमें डिस्काउंट वाला पार्ट पेंडिंग रहेगा. We are going to discuss on the discount part in our tomorrow session. For today I am going to sign off. If you have any question, you can ask the question, and you can confirm me that the section 7 of CGST Act, section 8 of CGST Act, that is composite and mixed supply, section 9, that is charging section, section 12, 13 and 14, that is time of supply, and section 15, that is related to our valuation, section 15 subsection 1 2 is okay for you. You can confirm me in the chat box. If you have any question, if you have any doubt, you can comment in the WhatsApp group. WhatsApp group is available. If you have any question, you can also put the same in the WhatsApp group, so, okay, so that we can take the question in our tomorrow's session. Okay. So for today, I am going to sign off. Whatever will be your feedback for the session, this is just my request. Please put your feedbacks in the WhatsApp group so that it will be more convenient for me to make certain changes, to make certain amendments, to make certain modifications in my style. Okay, if required. So for today, good night to all of you, and we are going to connect on tomorrow sharp 8 p.m. So please connect on time. We are going to start our session on time, that is 8 p.m. And if you have any question, you are free to raise the same in the WhatsApp group. So thank you for today. Thank you for the patience learning.